All right, thank you for staying with us. You're now watching the Climate Chat segment of the weekend show. My name is Zainab Aditola. Climate Chat is where we get to have conversations around how climate change widens the inequality gap in Nigeria and beyond. And today, this week on the Climate Chat, I'll be taking a look at the African Activist for Climate Justice Project. It's a consortium of more than 1,000 organizations from 51 African countries with a shared vision to advance a people-centered, rights-based, just and inclusive approach to address climate and environmental challenges facing humanity and the planet. And my guest on the show today is Sandra Jonathan. She is a programs officer with Education as a Vaccine, one of the implementing partners for this project. Good morning, Sandra. She's joining
Hi,
us
good
via
morning.
Zoom. Yeah, thank you for joining us via Zoom to have this conversation.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, excited to see you also. So let's just get this started very quickly because, we need to have the conversation and keep it going. Tell me a little bit about what inspired the African Action for Climate Justice and, how you currently operate.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. The project came about, the African Climate Justice Project came about due to the inequality gaps that different persons and different diverse groups face in the midst of climate crisis. So this can be due to the climate change or induced climate crisis by
Mm,
humans.
mm.
And over the time, we've seen that when mitigations or adaptation plans or policies are being developed, some groups of persons are being sidelined and
Absolutely.
justice don't get to them. It's
Mm.
like some are benefiting more while others are not. And those who are not even benefiting anything from it, from the interventions, are those who have nothing to do or the least contributors to this climate crisis. So that's where we came about with the Climate African for Climate Justice project, which is aimed at achieving climate justice for all, for the different diverse groups, especially the vulnerable groups.
That's very amazing. When you think about climate change and have conversations with people sometimes, they say things like, these are far removed from our realities, or, people are just using it to siphon money and lie about the reality of things on the ground. But, I mean, through this project, you've been in the field, you've worked with communities, you've worked with women, with girls, with persons with living with disabilities, right? Or with persons with disabilities, rather. What would you
Yeah.
say is the situation with climate inequality, particularly here in Nigeria?
Okay, like you highlighted, we've worked with a lot of communities, and our aim is to work with women and girls and vulnerable groups, persons with disabilities at the grassroots level. And we've seen their stories. We've shared a lot of narratives. These things are real. The inequality gaps are even wider than we think because it's beyond just the policies now. It's as it goes deep into the interventions and the mitigations plans. For example, you could see that even women farmers at this point in time have
Mm-hmm.
difficulties in um, fertilizers, have difficulties in accessing even tools that can make their farming even better. They have difficulties in accessing that, and you would see it relating to the women markets, market women who would also have difficulties in accessing goods to buy and also have difficulties in even selling these goods because people are complaining it's high, not even knowing what the farmers have faced, what they too, as women farmers buying, market women buying from them also has faced. This inequalities also has even led to GBV, the rise of GBV, because you would see that people are transferring, the women are being displaced from their homes, they are being kept in camps where they are being extorted just to have some basic amenities, maybe food, maybe health services. You could also see this affecting
Yeah.
their health services. Also, women don't even have access to health services when there's a climate crisis.
Hmm.
So the inequality gap is even more than we can imagine. That's why we've been working with advocates, we've been working with journalists to see how we can share these narratives, put the lived experience of these women out there through social media and also media platforms.
So that they can have a voice, right? And when you say women farmers, it speaks to me personally because I did a story a while ago about women farmers in rural communities, and I learned that many of them have even left farming because of the farmers' elders crisis. And climate change is one of the causes, right, of the farmers' elders crisis. But let's come back to what Education as a Vaccine is doing with the African Action for Climate Justice program here in Nigeria. What are the activities you're carrying out? How are you partnering with communities, with governments, with other people to ensure that we have an inclusive climate solution or an inclusive climate society?
Okay, thank you very much, Zainab. So this project has been ongoing. We're in the fourth year currently, and
Wow.
throughout this project, we've been able to build the capacity of these women at the grassroots to be able to advocate for themselves. The truth is that, in as much as you want to advocate for someone, when they are at the forefront of this advocacy discourse and this course, it gives them a sense of belonging, and they are even in a better position to say their stories the way it is. So over time, we've trained these women. We've been able to link them to platforms where they can advocate for themselves at the state level and also at the federal level. We've been able to see how we can bring these women together to influence policy as it affects them. So there was one time that we had to bring women from across the three states because we're implementing this project in three states: Niger, Benue, and Nasarawa states. They came together and we looked at the water resources bill and before it was stepped down. And we had some concerns. We saw how it was going to affect women greatly. And we were able to the memorandum for that, which we carried out advocacy with these women at the forefront at their state level and also at the federal level. So we're also looking at how we can bring these women together, build their capacity at their different levels, women, market women, women farmers, because the truth is that this climate crisis affects them differently because the way
Yes.
farmer it's different from the way it affects women women with disabilities. So we're trying to see how we can also support these women at their own levels now to carry out different advocacy programs and to also create their awareness within their within the women around them. Because again, most people think this is an act of God. People still have that mentality.
Wow. Yeah.
That this is the reality we are in now, and most of these things are even induced by people. They are caused by us ourselves too.
Ourselves. All right. So let's just wrap this up very quickly. If you had 30 seconds, right, and you had the chance to speak to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu about climate justice, what would you say to him?
So I think I have a lot to say, but I'll just summarize it. I would say that
30 seconds.
women and girls should be included in climate decision making processes at the beginning, implementation state, and also at the evaluation state. Because who better knows her environment more than a woman? So that's what I'll have to tell him. And I
Oh,
would at the end, climate justice now.
all right. I've been speaking with Sandra Jonathan of Education as a Vaccine, where she's a programs officer, and Education as a Vaccine is one of the implementing partners of the African Action for Climate Justice. Thank you so much, Sandra, for being my guest on the show this morning.
Thank you.
All right, and that's how much we can take on Climate Chats today. I'll be back next week with yet another exciting conversation around climate justice in Nigeria and beyond. My name is Zainab Aditola, and of course, more exciting shows segments coming up for you on the weekend show. Stay with us.